Welcome to the Transform Sales Podcast, where forward-thinking business leaders come to share their experiences and ideas, learn from each other, and amplify their results together.
Everybody, what's up? Amir Reiter here, the Transform Sales Podcast. But we are specifically today on the Transform Life series. We talk about how sales has transformed someone's life, and that somebody today is Natasha Davidson, a person that I have known for maybe 7 years, 6 years. How long have we been connected, Natasha?
Since March of 2019.
I thought it was before then, so it's only 5 years. I feel bad. This is also, guys, Natasha's first podcast, but definitely not her last, because she's a rising star in the world of remote work and just sales expertise. But I don't want to talk too much. Maybe you could tell everybody a little bit of a cool fact about you that nobody would know, Natasha.
Yeah. So like you, Amir, I live in Medellin, Colombia, but I'm from the United States. I'm from Blue Ridge, Georgia. And cool facts about me, there's a few. I'm a huge animal lover. I love horses. I love riding. I used to ride competitively in the United States. Now I do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So I'm a blue belt, which is the belt above white, but it's a while. There's 5 belts, and if you're trained consistently, it takes about 10 years if you train consistently to get to a black belt. So
can you be my bodyguard?
Sure, why not?
Yeah. And for those listening, guys, Natasha lives in Medellin, like me, because it's the best city in the world. Yeah. I love Medellin, so happy to be here. That's a whole another topic. So, a lot of people listening, they're just really new to this concept of remote work. They might be new to sales in general, right? They might not think sales is for them. So maybe you could tell everybody listening, like, how did you get into sales in the first place?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, started from the bottom. Now we here, right?
Yeah.
So after graduating from college, I have a bachelor's degree in business and public policy. I came to Colombia, but I lived in a city called Bucaramanga, which is near Venezuela, for 6 months. And that's where I met my now husband. And by the time, he was just my boyfriend. And so I was only there for 6 months. I came back to the United States. When I was legally allowed to come back to Colombia, I convinced my MMA fighter boyfriend to come to Medellin with me. So my parents were thrilled, as you can probably imagine. And I joke that I didn't choose the sales life. The sales life chose me, because I was open to doing anything. I just, it was a brand new city. Moving to a brand new city, that's extremely traumatic. But I think adding on going to another country where they don't speak your language, it was very, very intense. And so I was desperately looking to find a job. And so I was on LinkedIn, and I found CloudTask on LinkedIn. And Amir, if you want me to be completely honest with you, I didn't know what a SDR did. I applied for that, and I didn't even know what they did. So I knew that it was in sales. I knew that much, but I didn't know anything about the role, about what the role entailed. I didn't know anything about account executives or what sales managers do, or what a VP of sales does. I didn't know anything about. I didn't know what CRM
you had bills to pay, right?
Right, but I had bills to pay. Right?
I got a piece of bills.
I don't know what a CRM tool is. I don't know what sales channels are. I don't know what KPIs are, or quota attainment, or how to figure out ICP. I didn't know any of that stuff. Yeah. I just needed a job, right? So I go in, and when I was in the interview, you can ask Danny about this because he was there. I said, you know what? Because they had in the interview, there were 2 parts. There was one part we had to do kind of a mock cold calling situation. Yeah. And I blew that, by the way. But then the other part of it was, stand up, tell everyone about yourself, and say why we should hire you. And so I said, you should hire me because I'm going to be the best SDR in the whole company.
Yeah. Transparently, we probably hired you because you spoke fluent English. Right. But I think this is good for people listening, right? Because it's not a trick question, right? Like, If I ask you how you broke into sales and your answer is accidentally, that's a story for a lot of people, right?
Yeah.
If I asked you, if you were like a neuro doctor and I asked you, how did you become a neuro doctor? And you said accidentally, I might be a little worried then, right? But a lot of people listening should know that there are entry-level professional jobs, right? And these entry-level professional jobs are typically jobs that you'll get out of college that will begin your career path. And they could be being in real estate, it could be life insurance, it could be mortgages, it could be sales for a B2B company. So, what you said, and you kind of said like it was an accident. It's normal and it's common, right? I think at the end of the day, we start off being like, I'm in a big city, got to pay the bills, I got to get a job, right? And then you take an opportunity that is new to you and unforeign, and when you work with a company that knows how to enable and train people that are new to subject, you have a chance of growing and liking it. And for those listening, right, this whole Transform Sales podcast, we are going to interview people that are not affiliated with CloudTask, didn't work with CloudTask, right? It just happens to be that Natasha not only worked for CloudTask, she was one of the top performing reps for an account. I think it was an account with Ed Marsh that he referred to us that was called Ben. It was like a Brovima. It was Rovima. Right?
A packaging company.
Packaging company doing about $50 million in revenue that Natasha was crushing appointments for account executives. And Natasha, I remember Natasha's being, well, I'll be real simple. Showed up at work, asked questions, worked hard, and was committed to her job. And she did really well for the client. And after we pivoted to the company, I think I reached out to, I forgot how it happened, but we became a marketplace. And then I remember that a company called Mailshake, which is a technology company that we know well, was hiring. And I said, I told them the truth. I was like, Natasha is probably somebody you want to interview and hire because she worked for us and she did awesome, right? So I think you were there for 2 years and you were the top account executive, which, you got a new job. We'll talk about that later. But like high level, it did change your life.
It did.
Because maybe it did. Well, now you can tell me the answer. For those listening, how did sales change your life?
So again, my degree is in business. And funny enough, when maybe there are some universities that will do this, but I didn't take a sales class, which now sounds crazy to me. I took a class in management, leadership, accounting, finance. I took all that, but they didn't have a single class in sales, which, doesn't make sense. Yeah, it doesn't make sense looking back now. So when I graduated, I knew that I wanted to work in business, but I didn't know. I knew what I didn't want to do, but I didn't know what I did want to do. And what I mean by that is I was never going to be the kind of person that was going to be the CFO, the CTO, the CRO, the accountant. That just wasn't ever going to be my thing. I knew that I needed to go into some type of role that includes really high level communication with other people. And I thought, okay, maybe that might be a management role, but I really wasn't sure. Additionally, because as an SDR, I was the top SDR at CloudTask, and then I was the top account executive at Mailshake. I think maybe a lot of people think that in school I just had perfect grades, and that's actually not true. My average grade level was probably about a C. The classes that I did well in were the ones that were like leadership, management, those type of classes. But the classes that involve, I guess the left side of your brain, mathematics, I absolutely was not going to do well there. And so the reason why sales changed my life is because it's challenging. It is, but it's a challenging field that I fit into. Am I making sense? So, I was.
Would you say it changed your life, or would you say you found a career that complements your competitive personality?
It changed my life because it gave me an opportunity to be the best at something. Before getting into the sales, I was never the best.
This is where you brought the C average, right?
Right.
So sales gave you the ability to be number one.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, that's a big thing, right? Because I think now I understand where you're going with school, right? Like school gives you this construct, right? And you're either like meant for school and you're a 4.0 student or you're not, right? And you didn't get it, you didn't really get the opportunity with your personality to win, but sales gave you the chance to be number one, and that changed your life because, correct me if I'm wrong, now that you could become number one, it probably almost reminded you that your abilities are limitless. Would that be safe to say, or am I putting words in your mouth?
Yeah, exactly. It would be.
I feel like it did that for me. So I feel like I was talking about myself, but
yeah, it would be like kind of like asking a fish to climb a tree, right? That was never what I was meant to do. And so then I was, thrown into a pond and then afterwards thrown into the ocean. So it's not that there weren't challenges, but a fish is meant to swim.
Yeah.
Right. So, and I'm meant to do sales. This is, going to be my career forever.
I will call BS on one thing I heard. You said that a CRO is not a position for you, but I think that was an accident for those listening. That's Chief Revenue Officer. I think that in due time, that could be a role for you.
Okay.
Like accountant, okay? But Chief Revenue Officer, that's a possibility, but that's a lot. I'm like, look, it's a big deal, right? Because a lot of people they're not used to being in first place. They're not used to controlling their own destiny. And it's a nice perspective, right? Because you didn't talk about money or pay or commissions. You talked about, like your ability to swim, right? Where you couldn't in the past. And I think a lot of people listening to this, if you found yourself in a position where you're competitive or you just didn't get to overachieve in school or academia, then sales will give you that ability where, like, if you work harder than the next person, you can beat them, and you don't necessarily have to be better at calculus or a better reader writer. You can literally just work harder than somebody, if that makes sense. And it gave you the ability to be number one. And I'm like, you're obviously very young. I don't know if you're in your 30s or you're in your mid 20s. I remember you were maybe 25 when we met. I don't know.
I'm 29 now. When we met, I was 24.
So I know you're not even 30 yet, but you learned that you can be number one or whatever you put your mind to. And that's a big deal because you'll carry that the rest of your life. And I will add to that for me, what sales did for me was that it taught me that rejection was success. And I started to measure my life with the amount of rejection, not success. And it changed everything because I would literally go for looking for rejections. And by the time people said yes, I didn't even care because I was like, oh man, you ruined my numbers. I wanted to know. And it brainwashed me to understand how the world really works, which is that failure is success, right? Talk to me about what you would say to somebody who is out of school, or maybe they've been working in call centers, like customer support, customer success. Maybe they're not. They were heard about sales, but they were scared of it. Like, what's your best advice for somebody considering a career in sales?
Mm-hmm. So what I would have to say is, there's different roles in sales, right? And most people that get started, they go into the SDR role, which is what I was, for 2 years. And a lot of people, they don't like the idea of cold calling, or they maybe think that they would have to, do it forever. And that's not really the case. If you just get in and you have no experience, but you get a job as an SDR and you just push through it, even if you don't really like it, but you learn how to prospect, then eventually, if you want to become maybe an SDR manager or become an account executive like myself, there is a pathway to achieve that. So personally, I didn't want to be an SDR forever. My goal was to be an account executive. Right now, talking back to whether I'd be a CRO or a VP of sales or a sales manager, I'm not really sure where that direction is going to go. What I do know that right now is that I'm very, very happy as an account executive. My short-term goal is that I want to be an account executive that makes more money.
Yeah.
I think that, being an SDR is really hard, right? I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It's very, very hard. But if you, just put the work in, put, 2 or 3 years in, then there will be a path to become an account executive or a manager, that role that you want to have. But you kind of have to do the grunt work first. essentially.
So your best advice in summary is that hard things lead to easy life, easy things live to a hard life, and overcome your fears, because it's a lot worse to have 30 years of a professional career where you're not making a lot of money and you feel unfulfilled versus having 1 or 2 years of hard work and then you could become account executive and open the doors, which is really good advice for those listening, because I personally would be much more afraid of 30 years of an unfulfilling easy job versus 2 years of getting my butt kicked. And for those that don't know my story, it's very easy to see me now. I got my neon sign, I got my cameras, I'm CEO of a company, I'm alive. I was going door to door at 22 years old, selling $3,000 vacuums. I was fucking good at it. I was going door to door when I was 23 selling BDB copier machines. I've gotten the police called on me. I've cried in sales. I literally like, I remember one time walking into a building and I got kicked out and they want to call the cops and I started crying. Like I'll admit it. So like people need to understand, like, I'm a machine right now, but without sales, I would not have become a machine. It made me into who I am today, and it put me in a position where I can highlight the journey of someone like Natasha and help tens of thousands of people hopefully get jobs or work remotely. So like I'll say it again, like, guys, there's a good book you should read or a statement. It really says easy decisions, hard life, hard decisions, easy life, right? If you're considering getting in sales, but you're afraid of failing, understand that you should be more afraid of not failing, because if you don't fail, you'll have easy life. I don't know if I heard that, but yeah. Natasha, I'm thrilled to be part of your career, right? I think it's, for me, you look at me and you sometimes say, Amir, thank you for getting me this awesome job. By the way, congratulations on landing a new role at Sales Message. They are an awesome company.
I'm so excited.
We're thrilled to have you. I think you're going to grow with them tremendously. I know Chris and Asa well. They're awesome people. I feel lucky to be supporting your career. I feel fortunate to be able to host you on our podcast, to share your story with thousands of people to help it. But I want everyone to remember that there's communities out there, people to help each other. There are so many communities. We're building, obviously, a community for those who are in the remote job community on Facebook and part of our community. But there's places for people to learn. And I will leave that as, where can people connect with you, Natasha, if they want to learn more about your story, get some advice, get some tips, or just follow your career?
Yeah. Send me a connection request on LinkedIn.
Easy as that. Natasha's direct to the point. Natasha, I want to help you make more money throughout your life. So you push me on how I can help you and everybody who tuned in to the Transform Sales podcast, the Transform Life series, where we interview wonderful people like Natasha. Thank you for tuning in. And Natasha, how was your first podcast? Did pretty good, huh?
Yeah, no, it was pretty good. Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
It's my pleasure. I hope to see you soon. And I hope that your message inspires people to wake up, step up, and take control of their destiny. And I'm glad that you took the leap. And I'm glad that Danny Agudelo, big shout out to you for hiring Natasha when she had little skills, but she had great determination. You had a good side. You have a good eye for talent, as always. Everybody, thank you. Natasha, thank you. And take care.
See ya.